Hey everybody, this is Alexandra Hare with Optimum Joy, and I have Fallyn Lara here for our bio profile video interviews that we're doing. Now that COVID-19 is a very real thing and we're all like telehealth based, we still want you guys to be able to get to know our therapists, so that you can start to discern who really is the best fit for you as a therapist. So Fallyn, you can correct me if I'm wrong or add anything to this, but as I kind of think through the populations that you work with or who you really kind of love to see, I would say that I've seen you do a lot of like leadership development, which I think is unique for our staff. Not everybody on our staff does that. More of the career counseling role, helping people think through who they are and how that fits into their vocation. And then also, just kind of more general working with the anxiety and depression
Yeah.
symptoms that sometimes like come up in life and may or may not be connected to what we just generally call life transitions. That it's like as I'm transitioning through life, even if it's a good thing like having a baby, changing jobs, getting married, anything, going to school, that it still can kind of trigger some of that like anxiety, or any like shifts in mood. Would you say that like that encapsulates a lot of the work that you do, or would you add anything to that?
No, that's definitely spot on, honestly. And I think if anything, right, it's like the life stressors. How do we deal with those things? And so
Mhm.
that's huge.
Yeah. One of the things I love about your work, Fallon, is you do kind of focus on, I mean, everybody probably does that, Optimum Joy, but you kind of focus on the normal person and even using the word stress, that it's essentially like all of us experience stress, So how do we actually manage that in a way that's like healthy or life-giving in a way? So,
Mhm.
just kind of thinking through who you are as uniquely as a counselor, I am always curious to ask what initially like drew you into the field of counseling, or how did you kind of end up being a helper or a therapist?
Mhm. I love that question because, believe it or not, I actually started my education majoring in chemistry. I thought I was going to be a pediatrician back in the day, right? We always had the dreams and the goals and all that.
I know, yeah.
And so, as I was doing that, I actually started leading a group at my church that I attended. And I just started realizing I really enjoyed listening to people's stories a lot more than anything else. And it was something that just like grew me and it fueled me. And so I was like, you know what? I think I need to switch my major. And so I changed and I switched over to psych and got my master's and now I'm here. So
Here.
yeah.
I love that. You and I come from similar backgrounds. I wasn't going to be a pediatrician, but was very biology based. You were chemistry, I was more
Yeah.
biology based. And I really actually love having that foundation because essentially we like you and I are both healthcare providers. And I think sometimes we forget about the fact that like mental health therapists are in a sense healthcare providers, and the body and the mind are like so connected. So but it's always kind of fun to remember that you and I kind of come from similar paths into counseling and psychology. So
Kind of
uh,
hits the holistic area, right? The physical aspect.
exactly, yeah.
Definitely.
Would you say that you have like a favorite aspect or a favorite like thing about being a therapist in your job?
Oh man. I'm like, there's so many. But I think the biggest thing, honestly, is being able to see my clients grow. I think when they come into even their first session, right? And if you are thinking about joining and you're gonna have your first session with us, it's being able to say like see them where they're at and know, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get to this space. Like I want to be able to think better about myself. I want to be able to know how to cope with a stressor. And in the first session, a lot of times they're like, I don't think I can, I don't know if I can. But then seeing even like a few weeks later, a few months later, and seeing their progress and seeing them see their progress, that to me is one of my favorite things, I would say,
Mm,
is seeing that growth. And sometimes it's so much quicker than clients realize.
truly,
So,
it really is. Something you had mentioned, you and I were having a conversation earlier, and you threw out the word just like humility, and that it's humbling, because I
mhm,
think that it's really such a great thing to see clients really like let us into their lives in that way. Like it's a
yeah.
really privileged and like special and unique position to be in. And to
Mhm.
literally be the person that like kind of cheers someone on is awesome. It's like, it's great.
I would agree. I think that word humility is something that sits with me always with my clients because it's true. Like you don't it really is humbling to be able to hear someone's story and to be able to sit with them in both the brokenness, but then also championing them when they're winning too, right? And I think that's something to me where I always have that posture of just like being humble in every single moment with my clients and having them know that and having them be seen, right? I think sometimes clients are like they may not feel seen or heard, but it's so nice to be able to bring that in session with them. So
Yeah, exactly. So let's think, Fallon, when you're kind of not in the office or when you're not doing virtual telehealth, like how do you spend your time? What does it look like for you just to be like a normal person in normal life, not as a therapist?
yeah, honestly, I love, love, love spending time with my family and
Mm.
my friends. So I am Mexican American, and my family is pretty big. My mom's one of eight, so we have some big gatherings. We come together all the time, a lot of the time. So my aunts, uncles, cousins, and all that good stuff. And so I just love having fun. Just bringing joy, laughing, and all that. Just all of that. And so that's something that I love doing with them and hopefully we'll continue to do. And even with COVID, right? It's been interesting in how we do it. So a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of Zoom parties, but it's been fun nonetheless.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, that almost kind of dovetails nicely. There's a question that we always like to ask our staff members, partially because Optimum Joy is like the name of our organization, but I think joy is just kind of a really important like essence of life and stuff. So maybe you've already kind of answered this in what you said before, but more specifically, kind of what brings you joy in life?
Yeah. I think for me, I'll answer this in the way specific to my clients because I think there's something special about the joy I see or that I get from my clients. But I think the biggest thing is seeing them use the tools and, the coping skills that we've talked about in session. Because so I use a lot of what we call CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy and solutions focused. And so I end up giving my clients homework and I know it sounds scary, but sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes it can be like, I just want you to breathe every day. I want you to take some deep breaths, doing something like that. And so I really get joy in seeing how it impacts them. And really the strides that they take in that. I think that's something that is unique sometimes in sessions and in therapy that people don't realize like, oh wow, if I can actually do this, it can impact me in this way.
Mhm.
One thing that I always say is small steps can create big change. And I think that is huge with clients. And so I smile when I see them taking those small steps and then it ends up making that big change. So,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, kind of switching back just to kind of what you were saying about um, just like the work you do in counseling and just thinking through, there's always so many myths about who and what and should and this and that go to counseling and therapy. And
mhm.
what would you personally want people to know about counseling or about therapy? Yeah, what would you say to them? What would you want them to know?
Right off the bat, I would say that it's for anyone and everyone. Whether you're the quote unquote normal person or not, it's for anyone. I think sometimes it is true, like there is a stigma or this idea of, oh, you have to be completely, one way or like really bad. You have to be doing horribly in life or something like that. But honestly, it's not always in that space. No matter where you're at, you can always grow, right? No matter where you're at, you can continue to learn even more about yourself. And I think that is really the biggest thing when it comes to counseling. It's that insight. It's learning more about you. It's learning more about, oh, this is why I do XYZ, right? It's because of this, like this happened when I was in fifth grade, right? Or this happened when I was in seventh grade, and realizing how it's brought you to who you are today and that insight. I think one thing I say a lot to my clients is you're able to create it gives you more power in a sense to know where you've come from and
Mm,
even to know like how you've come to where you are, if that makes sense. And I think that's something that people don't realize happens in counseling. Like we're able to unfold that. And so,
mm.
and just learn more about ourselves, right? So that's something that I would probably say in
Yeah.
that.
Even as you're talking, it makes me think that like power is rooted in the word empowerment. So the more we can understand ourselves, our history, even counseling as a field is all about development. How do we develop someone forward? So if
Mhm.
that's if power is kind of rooted in empowerment, it's really enabling people to do their lives and do it well. And it kind of dovetails on what you were saying, but I always like people ask me all the time, should I go to therapy, Alex? Like, am I not like friends, family, random people? I think when you're a therapist, you just get asked a lot of
Yeah.
questions. And I am always kind of saying, not everybody needs to go to therapy, but therapy can benefit everyone. And I think that that kind of touches on the fact that it's like, hey, anybody can really, it's for everyone in it anywhere. I don't know how you said it. You said it so poetically, but it really is for everybody. So,
Yeah, definitely. Mhm.
Val, maybe we'll kind of end on this, but for like somebody who maybe just like is newly thinking about starting counseling, or they've been thinking about it for a long time, like they're kind of seeking it out, but they haven't actually taken the steps to start. What would you say to those people who, it's on their radar, but they haven't exactly like pulled the trigger in a way or like started?
I would say do it.
Do it.
That sounds like you're like, but no, honestly, just do it. I think sometimes our fear can hold us back. And I would say, like, even if fear is in the driver's seat, are you still gonna step anyways? Because I think in the stepping, there can be so much greater impact. Because I think sometimes we can hold ourselves back and be like, oh, I don't know. It's not familiar. It's not something I know. But honestly, it's like, well, what is it going to hurt if you do try? Right? Like, what is it going to hurt if you don't? Or if you do step forward? Because I think in the stepping and as you're doing that, it really, you're kind of opening the door to like a better sense of you, a better sense of healing, of growth. And so it's like, why not? And honestly, if one therapist doesn't work, another one will, right? And just keep going, keep trying it out. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I would say. I've had so many clients that are like, oh, they had one therapist, they're like, oh, it didn't work out, but then they came to another therapist and they're like, wow, this is exactly what I needed. And I feel like that's what I would say. It might be the thing that you need that you don't realize that you need.
That's a wise way to put it. Fallon, we love having you as part of the team. I think that all of our therapists, have just like a really unique presence, a really unique personhood to bring. So we're just always so thankful for like the work that you do and the clients you serve. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. And thank you for like taking the time to come on video with me, just so someone can again just get that feel of who you are, what it's like to work with you, what it's like to laugh with you, or like think on things together. So I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
All right, lady. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.